Hey everyone, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, and we're back with another real estate video. Today we're going to talk about renting versus selling your house. So I have 20 rentals now, and I'm actually selling a couple of those to exchange into bigger commercial rentals. So there's that side of it, but there's also the side of if you're a homeowner, if you've been living in a property, should you sell it or should you turn it into a rental? And a lot of people think it's a great idea to turn your house into a rental, but they don't really think about everything that's involved in being a rental, the numbers, and if it's a good idea or not. So we're going to discuss a lot of different things: tax implications, cash flow, managing a property, a lot of different aspects of whether you should sell your property and get out now or keep it as a rental and go that route. I love rentals. I think they're amazing, but they're not for everybody. So you really need to know what you're getting yourself into. And a lot of people don't understand what they're getting into, and it can become a horrible experience for them. But if they do understand it and plan for it, it could be an amazing experience. So we'll go a little bit into both aspects to show you what to look for, what to watch out for. And of course, check out investformore.com. That's F-O-U-R, M-O-R-E.com for much more information on being an agent, rental properties, house flips, all that good stuff. Ton of information there. All right, so in this scenario, let's say you've lived in a house for 3 years, you bought it for $100,000, now it's worth $150,000, and you're thinking, oh, I want to buy a nice, bigger new house, or maybe I'm moving out of state, or the kids are growing up, I'm going to downsize, whatever the scenario. Should you sell the house and buy something new, or maybe you're going to rent something, or should you keep the house as a rental? So a lot of people just think, well, my mortgage is like $800 a month, I can rent it for $1,000 a month, I'm making money, it's a great idea. Well, you probably aren't going to make money. You're probably going to lose money with those numbers, and the reason is most people don't understand all the expenses that come with the rental. So there's a lot to consider. On my rental properties, when I was buying them residential properties, now I buy mostly commercial, I would get $1,200 to $1,300 of rent, and my mortgage payment was $500 to $600. There's a huge spread there, and I still made a lot of money on them. But there's a lot of expenses to think about. You've got property taxes, which probably are included in your mortgage payment, but in some cases they aren't. But they're probably included in homeowners insurance, so of course those will be there. But then you've also got to think about maintenance. And that's something that can trip people up too when they live in a house. So most people who live in a house, they've been there for a few years, they get attached to it, they've made it their own house. It's usually in pretty good shape. Are you going to be able to handle it emotionally if a renter comes in and does not treat that house as good as you did, or worst case scenario, they mess it up or trash it? A lot of people just emotionally, it drives them crazy, they can't handle it. So that's something to think about too. Like, are you emotionally attached to this house, and are you gonna be able to handle it if it gets messed up or damaged? Because there's a chance it might happen. Not a good chance, but it could happen. So that's first off. But even if it's not completely damaged or intentionally destroyed, you'll have maintenance costs. So the furnace could go out, it could need a new roof at some point, the water heater could go out, the sprinkler system could need work. There's all kinds of things, the appliances, the air conditioning. Over the years, stuff will need fixed and repaired, just as if you're living there. And so you have to account for that. You can't assume nothing's ever going to break. And so if you keep it as a rental, you know, some rule of thumbs are 10% of the rents will go to maintenance items. So if you're renting it for $1,000 a month, $100 will go towards maintenance. Now that number could go up if you have a very old house that's not in very good shape, or it might go down, although I wouldn't count on it being much less than that if you have, you know, a brand new house or a really nice house that's been completely remodeled. But still, you know, if you go through a bad eviction, one nasty tenant, there's a good chance that you're going to have those costs at some point, even if it's not the first or second year. So that's something to consider. Something else to consider is vacancies, right? You're probably not going to have it rented 100% of the time, all the time. There's going to be some times when you have to rent the place. It might be vacant for a month. When you first lease it after you move out, it might be vacant for a month or two. If you have to go through an eviction, hopefully not, you know, it could be vacant for a few months. You might not be collecting rent for 6 months. So you could have awesome tenants for 2 or 3 years. One bad tenant can make up for that. That can be devastating to people if they're not waiting for it and expecting it, but if you plan for it, it's not as bad. So if you plan for another 10% of your costs to go towards vacancies, possible problems in the future, now you've got $200 going towards maintenance and vacancies each month. They're kind of earmarked for future problems, and you're not making any money. If your mortgage is $800 and your rent's $1,000, now you're breaking even. Well, what if you need a property manager? So a lot of people think, oh, it's easy to manage a rental property. Just put an ad on Craigslist or Zillow, go show the property, get a lease signed, collect money. Simple. Well, it's not that simple. First off, where do you get your lease? How do you vet the potential tenants? How are you checking their credit, their background? How are you doing all these things? If you have no experience and don't know what you're doing, you're probably going to do it wrong. Not because you're not good at things, but because you've never done it before and you have no experience. It takes time to learn how to figure out the background checks, the credit checks, talk to tenants, call their references, figure out if they have enough income. There's a lot that goes into it. And even if you do everything right, there's still a chance you get a bad tenant. It's lower than if you do everything wrong, but there's still a chance. So you have to be careful with how you pick your tenants and if you want to manage it or not. You have to be tough on tenants too. You can't let them be late on rent. You got to be strict or they'll just take advantage of you, keep being late, and you really have to be a tough manager. So most people aren't cut out to be property managers. That's just a fact. I'm not. I'm a horrible property manager. When I was managing my properties, I'd let them be late. I'd listen to all their sob stories, all kinds of things I let slide as a property manager. So if you're going to manage them, you have to think of, hey, it's going to take some time, and it's also probably better to use a property manager, and they might cost another 10%, 8 to 10% of your rent. So now you're losing money every month on your rental. So you really have to think about the numbers and if they make sense, if you're making money or if you're losing money. Usually it doesn't make sense to lose money on a rental property. Sometimes people say, oh, I just want to wait till the market goes up and then I'll sell it. Well, there's no guarantee the market will go up. Yes, it's gone up a lot recently, but it might go down next year or it might go up. We just don't know. And you're really taking a gamble assuming things will go up so that you can sell for more money, especially if you're losing money, because then those losses are adding up. You throw in one bad tenant, all of a sudden you're really under water from where you were before if you would have just sold it. So if it's a good rental and you're making money every month after all those expenses, maybe it's worth keeping. If you're losing money, probably not. You're really taking a chance. Now there's some other things to consider as well, like taxes. So when you live in a house in the United States for 2 out of 5 years, and it's your primary residence, most of the time if you sell that property, you pay 0 capital gains taxes. This is not a 1031 exchange. You don't have to buy a new property. You simply, since you live there, you sell the property. It's tax-free up to $250,000 for an individual, up to $500,000 for a couple. Pretty cool stuff, right? Well, if you turn the property into a rental, you might lose that tax-free gain. Now all of a sudden it's a business. Now you aren't getting a tax-free gain if you sell it. Now you're paying capital gains later on if you decide to rent it for a few years and then sell it. So always talk to an accountant to get the details, specific advice, all that, how that time frame works. But just realize if you're making that $50,000 profit, it's tax-free if you sell right now, right after moving out. If you turn it into a rental, you're risking losing that tax-free $50,000. Now you might be paying 20, 30, 40% taxes on it, whatever tax rates are in your area. So that's something else to consider, the taxes, the cash flow. You can't always bet on appreciation. And the simple fact is most properties don't make really good rentals, and a lot of them won't be making money. So if you want to become a real estate investor, you want to get into the rental business, sometimes it's not best to turn a house that you only bought because you liked living there into a rental. It's best to sell that property, take the money you made, and buy a rental that makes more sense, has better numbers, has better price to rent ratios, you're not emotionally attached to, has room for property management, and puts you in a better situation. Or if you really want to, go gung-ho, move into a property that has better numbers so you can get a low money down owner-occupant loan, then move out after a year and go that route, the house hacking route, where you get really good loans, low down payment loans, and you have a good rental property at the same time. Or you can buy a multi-unit property. All kinds of things you can do, and we'll link to some of those other videos as well. House hacking, the buy, rent, repair, refinance model, all of that stuff. But usually, in most cases, I'd say, if you bought a house to live in with no consideration about rent and investment property, and you decide to sell it, you're better off just selling that property and taking that money and buying an actual rental that's supposed to be an investment property. Not always, sometimes the numbers work, but most of the time you're better off because of taxes, because of cash flow, and all those factors. All right, I have a huge article on this on investormore.com as well that we'll link to in the description that goes through all of what I said plus more on buying versus selling. And we'll have more videos of our flips. We have 17 flips going right now, so working on all those. Hopefully we get some more sold here. Also buying some more rental properties, so we'll talk about that on future videos as well. So please subscribe to get those updates. We appreciate all the thumbs up. Any comments or questions you have, please leave them below and we'll do our best to answer. And we'll be back soon. Thanks a lot.